All right, eighth grade, let's talk about it. We have to talk about how you're going to find the equation of a regression line. Now, what we did yesterday was we took kind of all our points, we plugged them into a calculator. The calculator gave us the equation of the line. Sometimes, though, you have to do these things by hand, and one of the most straightforward way to do these things by hand is to draw what we call a line of best fit, okay? So what you do is you try and split the data, you try and bring it through a couple of points here, and then you're going to find the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points, which pretty much makes this exercise that we're going to do today really these 2 topics that we covered earlier in the year. Now, if you guys have a problem with these 2 topics, we are going to stop and we are going to go over these 2 topics in depth, because these are 2 of the very fundamental skills you need going from 8th grade into algebra into high school and into the higher levels of math. You really need to be able to look at 2 points and find the equation of those lines, the equation of the line that goes through. Okay, so I'm going to go through an example of just how to do that with regular, just numbers, just 2 points, and then we'll talk about how that's going to work with our things today. So say I gave you say I gave you this line right here. Okay. And I said, hey, what is the equation of that line? Now, you guys should be able to tell me that, but it's okay if you can't. Okay. We need 2 components. We need the slope, which is m, and we need the y-intercept, that's we generally call b. And again, what do we need to do? We need to put in y equals mx plus b form. Okay? So again, let's start by looking at the slope. So what you need to do is you need to take 2 points. Take this point right here, and I take this point right here, and say, how many spots did I go up, and how many spots did I go over? Okay? I need to express that as a fraction. Okay, we typically call that the rise in the run, or the change in y over the change in x, right? So I went up 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope, I went up 2 and over 4. Now again, what is that as a fraction? That is 1/2, right? So we've got our first spot right there, 1/2 x, right? Now we need to find out b. B is where it crosses over the y-axis. Well, where does it cross over the y-axis? Right there, right? At this point, 0, 2. And this number right here is my y-intercept. So this is the equation of this line. Okay, so 2 things you need. You need the slope in reduced form, and you need the y-intercept. Okay, there is one more thing they can do to kind of throw a wrench in your plan. Let's take a look at what that is. Okay. What if I told you our line looks something like that? Well, again, to find our slope, right, we need to find out what's the change in y divided by the change in x. So I'm going to pick this point down here, and I'm going to pick, oh, I don't know. I'll pick this one right here. Okay. So again, what's my change in y over my change in x? Well, I went up 4, so up 4, and I went over 2. Okay. Now my y-intercept, I'm sorry, 4 divided by 2 is 2. My y-intercept, however, though, is not on my graph. Now, you have some choices here, right? Could you just keep going down 4 and over 2 and down 4 and over 2? You could. You could. But more importantly, what we want to do is we want to be able to take a point that we know. So right now, here's what we know. We know y is equal to 2x plus b. Okay? Now I have 3 variables, right? And you guys know from doing systems of equations that for every variable I need an equation, right? So I have 3 variables. I can't solve for all 3 of them, right? I can only solve for one variable if I have one equation. So what you need to do is you need to pick a point on this graph. I'm going to pick this point to -10. To -10. That's where we started from, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to plug that in for x, and you're going to plug that in for y. So let's plug in -10 for y and 2 for x. Well, now all of a sudden, I only have one variable. I only have b, right? So I'm going to say -10. 2 times 2 is 4, right? And then I'm just going to solve for b. I'm going to find out that b is -14. So now I have b. Let's just put it all together. The equation of this line is y is equal to 2x minus 14. We don't say plus or -14. So 2x minus 14. Okay? So that's pretty much what we're going to do today, except we're going to do it with scatter plots. Okay? Give me 1 second. Okay, so let's take a look at this. They want to know the equation of this line. Now, what do we know? This one, we know this orange point right here. We know this orange point right here. So again, let's see. We went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we went down 8, and we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so my slope will be -8 over 7, which we can't do anything. That's what it is. You can write it as a decimal if you want, but don't. Just leave it as a fraction, okay? And again, in this one, they're very nice. They gave you your y-intercept. What's your y-intercept? It's 9, right? This is the point 0, 9. So what do we want? We want that 9. So let's put it all together. Y equals mx plus b. So what are we going to say? Y is equal to -8 over 7x plus 9, okay? And again, when you're putting an IXL, you press this button to put in a fraction. But if you want, you can actually write this like this with a kind of a slash on it. I would stick to using the fraction button though. Okay. All right. So same thing here. Again, they were very nice. They gave you your y-intercept, right? But again, I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, my slope, I went up 5 over 7. Most common mistake people make is they put this number on top. Don't do that. And again, what's your y-intercept? Here it was 4, right? Y is equal to 5/7 x plus 4. Again, mx plus b form. Okay, so plug in 5/7 for m, plug in 4 for b. Okay, here again, you're going to have to calculate your y-intercept, right? So again, let's find out the slope first. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. So your slope is equal to 9 over 3, which is 3. You need to reduce this fraction, guys. Okay. Now b, I don't know. Okay, but I do know a couple points. Now the question is, do you want to use the point 3, 0, or do you want to use the point 6, 9? Now you can use either one, but I'm going to use 3, 0 because 3 and 0 are much easier numbers to work with, right? So right now we know y is equal to 3x plus b. But I do know this one point. I know y is equal to 0 is equal to 3 times 3, right? In other words, plug in 3 for x and 0 for y. Okay? Plus b. Okay? 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, and just to isolate b, I'm just going to subtract 9 from both sides. So b is -9. So what's the equation of this line? Y is equal to 3x minus 9. All right, same thing here. Okay, going to be a little more complicated because they didn't give us the x-intercept or the y-intercept. But again, how do I get from one point to the next point? I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, and over 1, 2. So my slope is equal to -7 over 2. Okay, and I need to know my y-intercept. Again, I have the point 6, 2, 4, 9. Doesn't really matter which one you use. I'll use 4, 9 for the sake of it. Okay, So what do I know? Right now I know y is equal to negative 7 halves x plus b, and I'm going to plug in 4 for x and 9 for y, because that point is on this line. Okay. Negative 7 times 4 is negative 28. Negative 28 divided by 2 is going to be negative 14. Okay, I'm going to add 14 to both sides. And again, 9 plus 14 is going to be 23. Last step is just kind of put it all together, guys. Y is equal to negative 7 halves x plus 23. Okay, so again, like I said, if you kept going up 7 over 2, 7 over 2. Well, think about it. If I went up 7, and I went up 7, you know, kind of, if I went up 7, back 2, and up another 7, and back 2. Think about where I end up. Well, from here, right, this is the 2 I went over, the 2 I went over, I would end up 7 and 7. So 19 plus 7 and 7 is going to be 23. So if you can think it out logistically, that's fine too, but this is probably the most straightforward manner. All right. Here, again, just watch your scale. They're nice that they give you same x values, but again, this went up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so your m is equal to 80 over 40, which is 2. Okay, when you have the same scale, you can just count up by ones, but watch, sometimes they'll give you a different scale over here than the scale over here. Okay, we talked about that earlier in the year. Okay, and b, again, we know y is equal to 2x plus b. Use this point. 30, 0. Okay, so let's think about it. 0 is equal to 2 times 30. Again, x and y, x and y. Okay, so 0 is equal to 60 plus b, which means that b has to be negative 60, right? 60 minus 60 will make 0. Okay, so let's put it all together. Y is equal to 2x minus 60. Okay, and I believe this is the last one. I particularly took this one because if you look, it looks like they gave you the y-intercept, but we want to be real careful about how we're going to go through that. Okay, so let's start by finding the slope. I went up 10, 20, 30, 40. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, so again, my slope, my slope, 40 over 80, which is 1/2. Now, it looks like my y-intercept is 15. It looks like this is halfway through. And in fact, if you see the slope is 1/2, I also know that I had to go down 1 over 2, right? So yeah, it should be 15. But well, we want to be real careful about trusting the graphs, okay? So let's go ahead and let's just double check and make sure. Y is equal to 1/2 x plus b. Let's pick a point. I'm going to pick 10, 20. 10 for x, 20 for y. 10 times 1/2 is going to equal 5. And yes, b does in fact equal 15, okay? Be real careful about points that aren't integers, that aren't on an intersection clearly. Okay, guys, always double check those. So y is equal to 1/2 x plus 15. Okay, again, this is a must-have skill. Hopefully, this is just a review. If you guys got it, go ahead and do it. If you guys are having problems, we're going over this next week. Like, you have to know how to do this. Okay, so if there were problems today, you guys need to let me know, and we'll take a day to go over it in detail, and we'll take our time with it. No big deal. We're ahead of schedule. We just have to do a little bit of geometry at the end of the year, and we're all done. Okay, so good luck. I'll talk to you guys later.